Hello, good evening. Welcome to Shir of Likutey Moharan. Today was the Yahrzeit of the Chofetz Chaim. All right. So let us recap a little bit before we continue ahead with our material. Excuse me for trying to settle the camera on here. I'm sorry if I made anybody dizzy. All right, so basically in Sif Aleph, Rabbeinu says that you need to pull everybody in the world together, jointly, to help each other, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Love the Shechem. And the only way to achieve this is through a bechina of peace. You know that when there's peace, people don't compete with one another. They're not forced to prove that they are right and therefore disregard the truth. So peace is, shalom is a prerequisite for everybody in the world looking into what the tachlis is, investigating what's the reason that we're here, what's the idea behind this, how to do this, and Bezrat Hashem to do it. So it's possible to come to Chinas Shalom, except through reaching a state of where the face is illuminated, where and that it's called Hadras Ponim. And Hadras Ponim, you know, the splendor of the face, is through Chidush HaTorah. When there are 13 codes which Chazal has put together, which Kodesh Baruch Hu give us through Moshe Rabbeinu, and Chazal state them in the very end of Korbanos. And they are parallel, they are derivatives, l'maisa, l'alocha, to enact and to trigger the 13 tikkunim of this, what they call 13 tikkunim dikna, which is 13 midos of compassion, of rachamim. Hashem, kel rachum v'chanun, which we say it on Slichas, and we say it on Yom Kippur again. These are all, each word that we say is a keli that brings down, you can look at it as a receiver of a certain type of compassion, of rachamim. And and they say that according to, how do you do this? How do you achieve this Hadras Ponim? You learn Torah and you darshan the Torah. You learn the Torah according to those 13 principles, 13 codes. And this is how Yezer to Hadras Ponim. Rabbeinu says that commensurately with how much you are zeicher to illuminate the Hadras Ponim, this is how a person is zeicher to the purification of his voice. A voice is a very, very deep inyan. It comes before the dibur. And Kabbalistically, it comes prior, and this is something that on Rosh Hashanah, that we use, Kiyas Shofar. We blow the shofar because the blowing of the shofar, the sound of the shofar, is a single sound. It's not a complicated sound. It's not a sound that is comprised of different kind of. It's just a straight, simple, straight call. And Reb Nosson says that it is with the level of call that when a person calls out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with his voice alone, is the way that we do on Rosh Hashanah with Kiyas Shofar, we are actually giving voice to our innermost truth, which once we get to the level of words, we get complicated. We get confused. We don't find the words, and the words are. But when you just call out with the voice alone, you're hitting on the emes la'amito, your true self is calling out. This is the Indian. So I'm saying that the more a person dashens the Torah, the more his chachma, his wisdom gets purified by darshaning the Torah in the 13 midas shatoin. This is how a person is zeicha to cleanliness in the kol. And it is through this call, and it says, this is what says in the pasuk, Arini es maraich, show me your countenance. Ze b'chinas hadraspon, Arini et maraich. B'chinat zaken, because we says that hadrasponim is the countenance of a person, and mimele, the continuation of the pasuk also comes to fruition. Hashmi'ini es kolech. Show me your countenance, then let me hear your voice. The voice is according to the Chochmah of Drusha Torah, according to the Seichel of the 13 Midas that a person darshans the Torah. Now, Rabbeinu adds that there's another quote-unquote side benefit to this, that the person is zoicha when he is mechadish, he's doirish in the Torah and Yugimel Midas, he's zoicha to chaim, he's zoicha to life. This is what Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Am Yisrael, Dirshuni v'chiyu, seek me and you shall live. So you see, Dirshuni means darshaning, learn the Torah. Because it is in Koheles, it is the wisdom that gives life to the one who owns it. So, when a person dashes the Torah and the Shloshes Midos, he's zeichet to be zeichet to the Chochmah in the Torah, and commensurately he's zeichet to Chaim. And now we're going B'Seif Hey. And Seif Hey, it says, and when a person's voice is cleansed, this gives him a very special option. As when a person just sounds his voice even without saying anything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshioi Be'etzarasi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu delivers him in his time of need. B'vchinas batzar lahem, vayar batzar lahem, and Hashem saw when they're in distress, in their straits. B'shomar asrinosim, when he heard their their tune. It is through the sound of his voice that Kadosh Baruch Hu sees who is it that actually stresses him, and Eza Akum, which nation, presses us. Mitzvah. This is what the Gemara says. You should write, you say in Sefer Dvarim, he says, we just read it, you should write a poem, The Rocks, the Divra Torah Azois, Boer Heitev, explain it, well explained, well iterated. So what is well iterated? Chazal Darshans, it says that you write the Torah b'shivin lashon in 70 languages. This is, so like this, it is clear to everyone. And what's Ba'er means, this is the Paris, right? Chazal says 70 languages. So what's hidden in this is as follows, that Pirushe Vedrusha Torah, the explanations of Divrei Torah, which is Ba'er, explain well. Shemisham, Shemisham, Tosis Hakol. This is where the thing that purifies the voice. Al Yadam Heitiv Lanu B'chol Hashonos B'chol Ha'akom. This HaKadosh Baruch Hu does good for us, all the languages, which means vis-a-vis all the different nations in the world. And the Goyim is, and this is the Al-Deze Heitiv Lanu B'chol Hashonos, in because Heitiv means that the voice becomes good. When the voice becomes pure, Kadosh Baruch Hu listens to his voice and saves him from all the languages and all the Goyim, which constitutes the Shivim Lashon, the 70 languages. Vivichinas b'shamoy esri nosam. This is when it says, V'ya b'tzalem, Hashem sees who is the one that is pressing his children. B'shamoy esri nosam. He hears his children's tune, their voice. B'shamoy esri nosam, the Rosh Tevis is the acronym of Ba'er. Of Be'er is Lashon Perush and Drush. So the Perush person is Zecher that the Kadosh Baruch Hu can hear your voice alone, even without words, and he saves you from whatever it is that presses you. And after we have explained the person is Zecher to explain and dash in the Torah in 13 midas that the Torah is the dreshas by him, which are coming down from a very, very exalted place. It's called Hadras Panim. He's Zoicha that his voice is purified. And through this, he's Zoicha to peace. When he's Zoicha to peace, he's able to gather everybody to serve Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's also Zoicha that through the purification of his voice, Kadosh Baruch Hu just hears his tone of voice, even without Dibur, and he delivers him. So now the only thing that we still need to understand is how does one is Zoicha to Hadras Panim? Because we know there are people who learn Torah, and if the learning is not the way it's supposed to be, it's it's a gum. As we learned in the Torah Gimel, and that there's one thing about learning the Torah being la'omka shel halacha, and the only way that you can actually zoche to learn the Torah, to find out or ascertain what the halacha is through tefillah. Now the Rebbe says that And this is Seif Vav. Hadrasponim Hanal, and to that Hadrasponim, that illumination of the countenance, which is Yud Gimel Tikkun Amides, Efshar Lovoi Ella Alidei Tikkun Abris. The only way to can come is when a person is morally pure, his covenant is pure. B'chinas Hoid v'Hodor Lefanav. Hoid v'Hodor, you know, Hodor is Hadrasponim, Lefanav to his face. When does it, you know, what does it say? Hoiz v'hodol lefonim. So oiz v'chedva b'mkoimai. This is what is said in Sefer Divrei Hayomim. Oiz v'hod, I mean, hod v'hodor lefonov, splendor and glory lefonov, to his face, to his countenance. Oiz v'chedva b'mkoimai, strength and rejoicing in his place. So, you know, the ois represents strength. It represents the Osbris Kodesh. This is why Boaz, which is the tzaddik, we will learn in Torah Samachay, is Boaz, is boy oz, that in him is strength. It says that a pchina of a man is the pchina that he has strength, and the main strength is in the covenant. Shua bris anikra Boaz, as the Zohar says, and Tetzai says, Boaz is l'shon boy oz, because a person needs a tremendous resoluteness and strength in order to overcome the taiva of niyuf. That's why the bris is called ois, strength, which is resoluteness and gvura. And that, the chedva de matronisa, that's the simcha of the Shechina. It's the malchus, because the malchus, how does the malchus get the shefa? Through the sphere seisod, which is the ois. So when the sphere seisod is the way it's supposed to be, and all the shefa goes to the malchus, that's the Shechina, it causes rejoicing to the Shechina. That's why the ois v'chedva, both oz and chedva, and joy, both are called the union of Shmiras HaBris. And also it says when Am Yisrael were crossed the Red Sea, we said, Ozi v'zirasya v'hilel Yeshua, my strength, and this song of Hashem, of Yud-Kei, v'hilel Yeshua, and it became a deliverance for me. Ozi, my strength, is the bris. V'zimras, that's the song, that's the tune. When I have Ozi, when I have Shmiras HaBris, my zimras p'chinas kol, the result, v'hilel Yeshua, it became a Yeshua for me, became a deliverance for me. P'chinas vayar, batzala, v'chule, that he hears the arena. Rabbeinu said that it is not possible to have any grasp in the words of the tzaddik before a person has rectified and completed the union of his bris kodesh. And it's not possible, you know, to get the simcha without, real simcha, without the shmiras bris kodesh. Uman, Rabbeinu, Rosh Hashanah, whether you're able to be there physically or you're not able to be there physically, in which case you are there together with everyone. Rabbeinu says that the reason why people come to Tzaddikim for Rosh Hashanah is to be zoiche to taras hamachshava, to the cleansing of the mind, of the thought process. The avoider of cleansing the impurities, shmiras habris, of tikkun habris, takes place in machshava, in dibur, and obviously in maisa. And the three are interconnected. People make the common mistake that the union of Taivas Niyuf is only something which is shared by younger people. It is true that physically and also, from person's own proclivity, there are certain aspects which are much stronger when a person is young. But on the thought level and on the coveting level, there is no age. There is no age. I'll never forget, somebody spoke about, he saw an old man, who is well into his 90s, that is walking on the beach. And there's a Pritzker, not Sneastika woman passing along, and she, coming towards him, and she passes him, and he turns around and he looks. What does somebody in his 90s need to? It has nothing to do with age. Dushas and bris has nothing to do with age. A certain aspects of both Hashem become easier the older you get, but nevertheless, the idea is to keep the name, to keep the eyes, and obviously to keep the thought process, and of course to keep one's speech. A lot of bechinas of shmiras habris in the speech. Davening properly is bechinas of shmiras habris, because your mind and the words are the receptacles of your thought. And when the thought does not go into the words that you're saying, that's become habris on a certain level. When a person is flirting with, I'm not saying anything, nothing, just, we know when we are flirting, when nobody else does. It may be, quote unquote, as effective as I don't know, as a gust of wind trying to move a building. It doesn't matter. The point is that we are trying to achieve a clean mind. A clean mind with which we are zoche to understand the words of the tzaddik. And this is essential. This is essential. We must understand the Torah of the tzaddik according to us, because that's our only way of actually locking on to our own real tikkun. Because Rabbeinu is doing all the heavy lifting. But let's call a spade a spade. Rabbeinu is doing all the heavy lifting, but Rabbeinu does not do the heavy lifting unless we do whatever it is that we can do. Or rather, Rabbeinu does the heavy lifting for everybody. But the more lifting that you do on your own, the more sanctification you sanctify yourself, the higher you get. The deeper you get. The Olam Haba is endless. Is endless. Uri Zohar, that passed away about a couple of months ago. When he first was introduced to his Rav Zilberstein, and he told him, Rav Zilberstein said to him, I can prove to you that Hashem created the world in 6 days in Teres Emes. So that was before Rizor. He was still, the chutzpaniak on the outside. He says, does the Rav even knows what does it mean to prove? So Rabbi Zilberstein says, I know what it means to prove. And he proceeded to prove it to him. Now, Uri went to university, studied philosophy in university. Needless to say, he was a brilliant, brilliant genius. And he went and he brought, and they went back and forth. And because when he says, if you can prove to me, he said, if I do prove it to you, does it make any difference to you? Or this is just an intellectual. Uri was a very honest person, even before, with himself. And so it's just, what do you mean? If I know that this is the truth, this is the most important nekuda in my life. So B'kitzur, he was able to prove to him. So Uri says that he called him up and he said to Rav Zilberstein, first of all, I want to tell you that I hate you. For ruining my whatever. But secondly, what I want to know is, what is the minimum? So, what do you mean the minimum? He says, look, what is the minimum that you get to sit in Gan Eden? I don't care if my back will be against the wall and I will feel the heat coming out from the other side. I don't care. Just what's the minimum? At the end of his life, first of all, before, he sat and he learned 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 and he learned. And they asked him, why, what nonstop learning? So he said, I don't want to stand in the hallway. I want to go inside. I want to go inside. I want to learn Torah with him. I want to go inside. So it started with, I don't mind feeling the heat from the other side of the wall, the Gehenna from the other side. But I'm in this, there's plenty of madrigas in Olam Hazeh and Olam Habo, and higher and higher and higher. And we need to understand and believe with all our limbs, the Shos Gidim, in Rabbeinu HaKadosh, that was Zoiche to such a madrega, because he didn't look one look at this world. He didn't utter a single word in this world. He didn't listen to a single sound of this world. They didn't do a single movement in this world which wasn't for Kadosh Baruch. And because of this, he was zeicha to everything. Obviously, it's a special neshama, but nevertheless, it was total work, and he was zeicha to, and we need to understand that Rabbeinu, Baruch Hashem, is chai v'kayam, as the Torah says, tzaddikim are greater after their passing than before, and Rabbeinu sees you, and he hears you, and he feels you, and if you have proper emunas, tzaddikim, you'll be able to see Rabbeinu wherever you look, and to feel him in every breath you take. And Rabbeinu hears you and feels you and wants to give you, to fix you and give you new parts of neshama that have never and yet to exist, to enrich you now and forever. And Rabbeinu says that he can do on Rosh Hashanah even things that even he cannot do during the year. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going, hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu Yazor, tomorrow night, and every single step of the way, Rabbeinu said, I wish upon myself, to see the light that comes out of every single step that you take coming to me. So even if you just get up and go to your door, going to Uber, you can't go more than that. You get up and you go to your Pnimis, Pshitis. Bezrat Hashem will all be in Uber together. I want to wish one and all it's possible that Bezrat Hashem we will have a shir in Motzei Shabbos. Not sure. Depends on people. People are going to sleep. Is Sunday morning. We'll see. We'll see what we can try to do. I believe the Wi-Fi will be available, so if it's possible, I will try to do it.